Now, separate from the bloating, I actually could see on the left side of my body a bulge. I've gotten into the habit of calling it my orange because of the size of it. But when I lie flat on my back on the left side, I could see this hump just below my navel. And when I first saw it, like this was back when I thought it was just a muscle strain, I said to my husband, "Do you see this? Do you see this?" Because I wasn't sure if I was making this up. And that's a point that I actually want to underscore right now. Going through all of this, I was on an emotional roller coaster. There were many times when I doubted what I was experiencing. I did not believe that I was ill. Um, I got upset with myself because I was thinking, oh my gosh, well, I just spent months and months and months thinking myself lazy, thinking myself um, getting fat because I'm lazy and overeating, worry that I'm getting old and that's why I'm tired, worry that my eating habits are poor. I had moments when I said, well, I'm not in pain now, so I must have imagined the pain that I had yesterday or the pain that I had last week. And I just kept dismissing a lot of what I felt or what I thought I felt. And I started to get very, very rude with myself. Um, and imagine gaslighting my damn self, for goodness sake. So anyhow, I'm looking back at the ultrasound results and it has the measurement of the size of my uterus and it's in centimeters. And I Googled and the measurement in centimeters for the uterus that I saw online as a normal uterus was a lot smaller. And they said your uterus is about the size of a fist. So I looked at my fist and I said, well, why is it that my measurements say that my uterus is double the size of what is a standard? And I wondered, like, is data correct? Or is something wrong with my uterus? Do I have an overachieving uterus? Um, and later down the road, when I found out that I have adenomyosis and learned that the lining of my uterus actually then has these deposits in them that cause them to be bigger. And I also learned that fibroids that are in the lining of the uterus can also cause the measurement of the uterus to be greater. Those were the things that were affecting me. And those were probably the things that were also giving me this bulge in my pelvis. And the thing about this bulge, in addition to it being uncomfortable and unsightly, was that or because it was uncomfortable and unsightly, it changed how I could dress. So a lot of the clothes that I wore before, anything that didn't have an elastic waist, anything that had a button or a zip that would apply pressure, I had to stop wearing all of that stuff. And you could imagine that being forced to change your style is something that's very frustrating as well. So again, back to that emotional roller coaster, back to looking well but not feeling well, and not knowing whether you should or could um, burden other people with the problems that you're feeling. I think the worry for me was that I did not want to seem as though I was bitching or griping. And it wasn't that anybody said to me, Shade, you're bitching, you're griping, I this is overwhelming, I don't want to hear it. It was that I decided that I did not, I didn't deserve room to express these negative feelings or to burden somebody with these negative feelings. And later on, when I reflected on the attitude that I held, then I grew angry with myself because I thought, well, why would I treat myself in a way that I would not have treated somebody else? I would have said to anybody else, like, say what you got to say, express what it is that you're feeling, and somehow anything that it was okay for me, which is wild. I also was very angry because there was stuff happening inside of my body that I couldn't see, so I couldn't see it coming. I couldn't stop it. I didn't want it. I couldn't fix it. Um, and it was just completely out of my control, and that caused me a lot of anger. And then what happened about a month or two after, you know, being back on this fibroid wagon, was that I suddenly had been late with my period for the first time in years. And then when it finally came 10 days late, not only did it last more than a week again for the first time, but this is the first time ever in my entire life. This was the first time that I had a period that lasted as long as 10 days, but it was very different. It was definitely what I would call heavy. I had to be changing pads often, and it was painful. Oh my God, it was painful. Like, I cried. And the stuff that came out of me was stuff I had never seen before. I looked in the toilet and I said, that looks like a tadpole. Like, what the hell is that? But I didn't think it was right to take a photograph, because who the hell am I going to show that to? And when I finally then went to the gynecologist, at this point I had not yet talked to a gynecologist, okay? Because I had to wait for a referral. So in Toronto, you can't talk to a specialist right off the bat. You have to go to a GP and then get a referral. And then sometimes that takes several weeks to arrange. So I finally went to the gynecologist and I said to her, I didn't know how to fill out the form when it asked me about how regular my periods are, because had it asked me a month ago, I would have said like clockwork, every month, every 28 days. But it was recently late, it was recently heavy, it was recently painful, it was recently chunky. And I described to her this strange tadpole looking thing that I saw in the toilet bowl. And the gynecologist said to me, that sounds like you had a miscarriage. And I'm like, Jesus, this word again? This word again. So once again, I was faced with this chance of having a miscarriage, but understand that the very first time that I was told I might have had a miscarriage, it was not a miscarriage. It was this cystic degeneration in a fibroid. The second time around, chances are it was a miscarriage. That little thing in the toilet, I don't know, that might have been a little buddy and I had to flush it. Again, it was shocking information, but it was not disappointing or hurtful, because I was not trying to conceive. I think I would have been a lot more panicked if indeed I was pregnant.